When I was 11 years old, my mother had to take the bus to Providence to do any shopping, and she was waiting for the bus, and all of a sudden, the store behind her, she realized, was a music store called Axelrod Music. And in the display window was a trumpet. She suddenly decided to go in and buy it. So I grew up in high school playing the trumpet. Then one day, one of my classmates, she was the clarinet player in the band with me, and she said, "You'll have to go to Providence to see this wonderful movie about music." And she said, "It's the life of Chopin." I'll never forget, one day I was coming home from school, and I suddenly decided, I'm going to go see that movie. I was overwhelmed that this music was available, and I fell in love with piano. When I was accepted at the Conservatory as a trumpet player, I asked the dean during my interview, could I be a piano major? And he said, "Oh no, you have to have at least 6 years study of piano." And I had just started studying the piano. And he said, "You can never become a pianist starting at 18 years old." But I said, okay. I wrote to the Conservatory and told them I'm not coming. And 2 years later, I auditioned as a piano major, and believe it or not, they accepted me as a piano major. After my master's, I wrote to the schools in Hartford, and what happened was I got a card from Moshe Paranoff. He said in the card, "Please come and see me if you're in Hartford." And I went to see him. Well, that was 60 years ago, and I'm still here. When I came to Hart, Carolyn was a voice major. And I used to do a lot of accompanying for voice teachers. That's how I first knew her. At the end of that senior year of hers, she asked me to go to the Hart prom. And I said, to myself, faculty member, you can't date a student. But then she came back her next year to get her master's degree. So we became very close at that time, and I actually ended up buying her an engagement ring on the day she graduated with a master's degree. We had my son Dan first. The second child was also a boy, Jeffrey Quinn, but he only lived less than a week. He was between Dan and then, of course, 2 years later, Anne. It started with 3 piano teachers, Moshe Paranoff, Irene Kahn, and her husband, Sam Berkman. Little by little, they built the school. One day, Libby Warner, who later became Dr. Paranoff's wife, was going around evacuating every room, every studio, and she said, "Everyone go to the auditorium, quickly." And I said, "Oh no, don't tell me we're at war again." But when we got to the auditorium, I noticed everyone was smiling. So I said, well, we can't be at war, then something else is going on. And Governor Ribicoff read the charter, and he said, "We now have a University of Hartford." I've seen every one of these buildings come up. We built that school, and we only had those 2 buildings at first, but these people dedicated their lives to building the University of Hartford, and that's how it all started.
I first met Dr. Morrison when I came here as a student. So he was one of the professors. He was running the piano department with Ray Hansen. I still have books where I have notes at the top of the pages. explaining what the really important aspects of each piece were. We would all just sit there diligently writing it down.
When I first arrived, I was just on the music ed faculty, but as I started to take some leadership positions, he would say how fortunate we were and, to have you take on these new tasks. And he conveys what it means to be a good and thoughtful teacher in terms of being committed, wanting to know who you are, what your needs are, and setting about and making you a better musician.
My first year teaching at Hart was 1955. I learned that by just reaching out to someone, even if you don't like them, it could make miracles happen.
When I was very, very young, I was friends with two girls that lived across the street from me. One of them kind of got in a little bit of a fight with me one day, and that next day was her birthday. She had a birthday party and I wasn't invited to it. But my father found out about this and he said to me, I want you to go over to her house, forgive her the way she treated you, and you're going to give her a present. She couldn't believe that I was there. She was so thrilled that she started to cry and gave me a big hug. And that was such a nice lesson my father taught me, to forgive.
I was an international student. One of the few people that I first met, one of them was Dr. Morrison. And he took me as a student, and he made sure that he was available to me. He wanted to get to know me and my cultural background. Dr. Morrison had a great love for his family and friends. He always treated his students as if they were his own children. And during my years here at Hart, I really enjoyed my lessons with him and the various classes that I had to take. And I came to respect him not only as a teacher, but also as a colleague.
I think one wonderful distinct quality that he has is that he enables his students to realize their own capacity to experience joy through music, whether that's through a hobby or whether that's through really perfecting an advanced passage. Regardless of that, he approaches every student in the same way, and that's as a friend and as a collaborator.
He took difficult passages of music and worked with me very slowly, note by note. I have also learned so many other things about life in general from Dr. Morrison. So, actually, my lessons were a twofer, two or more things for the price of one.
In the community division, Will has been giving an award in honor of a son that he and his wife Carolyn lost, Jeffrey Quinn Morrison, for many, many, many years. And he's always asked who won the prize. Then he goes out and he selects something that's appropriate to that student and gives it to them. So he's always been there really rooting on our students. His studio is a most remarkable place. You don't just come in and take a lesson with Will. You actually become part of his family when you study with him.
We do come across interesting and fabulous people along our life's journey. Those people are probably put in our way to help us understand that there is good in this life. Dr. Morrison is one of those redeeming persons. He just reminds us every day that there is so much good in this life. He's been a guide, he's been a father, he's been a friend, so understanding, so tender, so honest. I think all of us share that same deep feeling for him, and I certainly will always appreciate that.
Dr. Watson Morrison he's given 60 years of his life completely invested in the belief in the transformative power of performing arts education. With an investment
to the Dr. Watson Morrison Scholarship or the Jeffrey Quinn Memorial Prize, we're ensuring that the legacy of Dr. Morrison is continued for years to come. You can make a gift at our website, hartford.edu/HCD. Together, we can make a difference, and we can continue to enrich lives through unparalleled and innovative performing arts education. Help us continue the legacy of Dr. Watson Morrison for the next 60 years and beyond.